So this lesson covers order of operations and how we're going to evaluate expressions. This is review, but it is stepped up a bit. So it's important to jot things down. If it goes too fast, press pause, rewind, even come back and watch again. So let's take a look and go through words that we're going to cover. Evaluate, order of operations, which you all call PEMDAS, grouping symbols, and a fraction bar. So when we evaluate an expression, it means we find its numerical value. So we get an actual number for what it's worth. We use order of operations to do this. Order of operations is kind of like the golden rule. When you're in elementary school, you learn not to hit friends, so order of operations is our golden rule in math. It applies in everything we do. When you first learn this, the rule doesn't ever change. So since 5th grade, you've been doing this, and it's kind of the guiding principle of how we work within math. So for what we're doing, our step 1 is going to be replace the variable with its value because we're using variables. That won't always happen. But then what you're going to do is you're going to go inside grouping symbols, which are parentheses. Then you're going to evaluate all powers, so those are your exponents. Then you do multiplication and or division. This is important. It's not multiplication before division. It's whatever comes first from left to right once you've cleared the exponents and the parentheses. Then you do addition or subtraction from left to right, whichever comes first, and it does make a difference. So let's see what that means. So you guys are going to evaluate this. Now I have at the top of this page what you guys all call order of operations. You all call it PEMDAS. That's really what a teacher created for you to understand your steps. It's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So our first step here is going to be replace Z with 2. Any time you replace, and this is going to come back in tomorrow's videos, you need to use parentheses, and this is what I mean. When I replace the variable with its value, I'm putting that value in parentheses. Right now, we're dealing with positives. When negatives come into play, it will change things. So our next step here is to evaluate 2 to the 4th power, because that's our exponent. 2 to the 4th means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That gives us 16. My parentheses is now gone. There's no more exponents. I have no multiplication or division in this problem. Sometimes you might. There is no addition, so I simply subtract, and I get 13. So in this problem, you didn't have all the operations, but that's okay. You won't always. So now it's your turn. I want you to pause and try these on your own. Do the best you can. Okay, let's see how you did. So first I'm going to replace my variables with their values. I have 2 cubed, or 2 to the 3rd power, plus 10 times 4. I'm going to do my exponents first, and I'm going to get 8, because that's 2 times 2 times 2. Then I'm going to do 10 times 4, because multiplication comes next, to get 40. And all I'm left with is addition, so that I have an answer of 48. Does everyone see what I mean by order? Okay, let's try our next one. I have 22 divided by x. Where we're at in our math career, whatever you want to call it, you have to commit to your memory and knowledge that a fraction bar means division. So I'm going to replace my x with its value, and the value of my x is 2. It says it right there in our instructions. Now, order of operations tells me I have to divide first. So when I divide, I get 11. I then add 16, and my final answer is 27. So it's really important that we understand these fraction bars because we have another one here. When I replace my z with its value, I get 6 divided by 3, but I also had to replace my y with 4. So I do my division first to get 2 plus 4, which is 6. So hopefully you did well. If there's something you did not get, you can leave a comment, you can ask in class. But make sure you have these steps written down exactly in this way. We need to go linear. We need to go up and down every time we do a new step. So some of you that are used to going sideways, kind of get that out of your head. So here's my next topic, grouping symbols. Grouping symbols are parentheses, and you'll even see brackets. Brackets will come into play when you have multiple parentheses. So what does this mean? Well, here's what we're going to evaluate. A squared minus b cubed minus 4c. So our first step is going to replace a with 8, b with 5, and c with 3. We're replacing them with their values. Now, order of operations tells me to go inside my parentheses first. But I'm going to give you a little tip and trick. You can actually do the exponents first and make your life a little easier and get rid of that because it's not going to affect anything. So I would do 8 squared and 5 cubed and get 64 and 125. Now that I've done that, I have to stay within that large parentheses where there's 3 different terms. And what I'm going to do first, order of operations inside the parentheses tells me to multiply. You cannot do 125 minus 4 first. You have to multiply. So you'd get 64 minus the quantity of 125 minus 12. Well, here's some advice. Your parentheses is still not down to one number. So I have to subtract 125 and 12 to get 113. Okay? When I do that, I can take the parentheses off. I no longer need that parentheses. Here's why. I've got it down to one number. What's left is just subtract. Don't sit there and tell me you can't. You have all learned subtraction. You are just now going to end up with a negative number, which a lot of us feel like we did something wrong. I shouldn't have a negative. No, that's not the case. It is okay to have a negative now. So here's a couple examples. Pause and try these on your own. Okay, let's see how you did. We're going to go through these a little faster because I've done the example, but we know we replace our variables with what they're valued at. I need to go inside my brackets, and I need to first do my exponent because that's order of operations. I then need to go do multiplication. So I'm going to do my 2 times my 4 and my 6 times my 9. I am still not down to one number inside my parentheses. So I must add 8 plus 54 to get 62. 62 minus 12 is in fact 50. Did you guys get that? Good. If you didn't, it's okay. Let's look at your work and compare it to this work. Maybe leave a comment on the video or bring it to my attention in class. Okay, you should have replaced your variables with their values. Now in this one's a little more straightforward. I'd multiply both first. Then I'd have 36 minus 24, which is 12. That one was an easy one we threw in there. Let's go over and look here. I've got parentheses, I've got exponents, addition, subtraction. I even have a variable exponent, but I know what my variable is worth. So I replace anywhere you see a variable with its value. Go through and do your exponents first. Okay, now my parentheses are not down to one number yet. So do you notice how I did this one a little different than my first example? I kept the exponent that's outside an exponent, you can do that too. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you're writing it the correct way each step. I now do that exponent because I've gotten my inside down to one number. Then I subtract to get negative 164. Questions? Okay. Another aspect when we're evaluating and simplifying is that fraction bar. I mentioned it in another example, but when you've got expressions on top and bottom, you cannot do division until you've gotten each one down to a single value, meaning you need your numerator to be one number and your denominator to be one number before you can do anything else. So what does that look like? Okay, well, in this example, I still replace my variables with their values. Okay, I'm going to get the top down to one number. So I need to get rid of my exponents. So I have 81 minus 1, and then I have 4 times 4. Well, I can do that now. I can subtract 1 from 81, that gets it to one value, and I can multiply 4 times 4. I get 80 over 16. Now I can do my division to get 5. I can't do anything until they're one number over the other. Does that make sense? Okay, order of operations still applies. So let's try these. Pause the video now and try these on your own. Okay, like the last one, I'm gonna go through a little quicker, only because you should have something written down. If you're incorrect, pause the video and make a correction in your notes. So here, I replace all my variables with their value. I would first, in this case, have to do my exponent. I now can do multiplication so that I have 144 minus 36. I have to do my subtraction on top to get 108 divided by 2, which leaves me with 54. And that is the final answer on my first one. Okay. Next, I'm going to replace my variables with their values, always. Now, what I'm going to do is get my parentheses down to one number. So my top is now all multiplication. And my bottom has multiplication and subtraction. So I like to do this in steps. First, do 2 times 4. And do 3 times 12. Everyone see what I did? So all I'm left with now on top is 8 times 3. And then I have 36 minus 6 on the bottom. That gives me 24 over 30. Now, some of you might have said, okay, I'm done. One number over the other. I can't divide 24 by 30 evenly. It's not going to work, which you're right. However, you can simplify them. So if you type 24 over 30, that would be wrong because it's not in simplest form. You could divide both of those by 6. Okay. I'm pretty sure some of you might have freaked out a little bit when you saw that there was a fraction and we were adding. Well, if you substituted in the values first and you did some work here, so you end up with 12 divided by 6 plus 3 times 6 over 3 squared. So first, let's get my second fraction to 18 over 9, because 3 times 6 is 18, and 3 squared is 9. This makes it actually a little bit easier for us. I can do 12 divided by 6, and I can do 18 divided by 9. If you do that, you end up with 2 plus 2, which is simply 4. So there was not a need to find a common denominator and add, change your numerators. You could have, but that's why I say go and do all the work first. It might make your work a little easier. So that's a quick review on order of operations. Please subscribe below. As new content comes up, it will be here. There'll be other aspects that you can look at. Also, take time to reflect and analyze on the lesson we just went over.